You're watching the Real Football Network with Pat Kerwin, and I just got done with the Week 1 games at CBS. I was in the studio all day with Bill Cowher, Boomer Esiason. You know what struck me? I'm going to start covering teams that lose that still impress me. All is not lost Week 1 or Week 2 when teams lose games. Which two teams jumped out at me so far in Week 1 that I think there were plenty of good signs about the future of the 2015 season? First, the Pittsburgh Steelers. You know, they lost that game by a touchdown. They missed two field goals in it. They'll get that corrected. They're going to get more Pouncey back, their all-pro center. They're going to get Martavius Bryant back. And I look closely at the film after the game of Bud Dupree and Jarvis Jones. Those two big guys, physical outside linebackers, they can take on tackles. Once they get the nuances of their zone drops, especially Bud Dupree, they won't be fooled by some of the things they did, which was just two young kids trying to take drops that really were not carrying the tight end and leaving our friend Gronkowski wide open. I think Pittsburgh's going to be in this race right to the end. Their offense, when they get all those players back, they're going to be up in the 30-point range. The defense will get better with time. What a test to go to Foxborough, Massachusetts, and that hurry-up style of Tom Brady's, and all those personnel groupings, and then their headsets were out for a while. All those things add up to a team that looked confused on defense. Watch the difference in that defense from Week 1 to Week 2. And my other team that lost, that all is not lost, the Houston Texans. Why? They benched Brian Hoyer. We all saw what he was all about. Remember, when he was in Cleveland, he got benched because he threw 9 interceptions in his last 5 games. And he came out and threw a pick right away today. Eventually, they got to Ryan Mallett, the guy with the big-time NFL arm, and that offense came alive. And if he's the starter, and I suspect he will be, they're going to be able to do things offensively that Brian Hoyer just can't do. And they're going to get Arian Foster back soon. So I think the Houston Texans are fine, and I think the Pittsburgh Steelers are on their way to get back into this race. I see both of them contending for the playoffs all year round. So no panic buttons from the Real Football Network when it comes to the Steelers and the Texans. But right now I'm going to just react to what some of the things that I saw on Sunday, Week 1. Some good, some bad. First off, the AFC East, all 4 teams win. You know the last time that happened? 2002. Pretty impressive day for the AFC East. Those 3 defenses, with Miami, Buffalo, and the New York Jets, chasing the New England Patriots, showed me they might have enough gusto to make Brady's life a little tough. If they can get those quarterbacks to play a little better, they could be in the race for a while. The other thing that's so typical about Week 1, and it all emerged as I thought it would, let's start with the sloppy teams. 3 punt returns for touchdowns. Special teams are a disaster, weeks 1, 2, and 3, and you've got to be careful. Too many rookies on these units that don't know how to cover, and you see all kinds of great punt returns. Those things will be put to rest over the next couple of weeks, but for now, we've got some opportunities to score from the special teams. There were 5 interceptions for touchdowns. That is a bad sign of how sloppy things can be. Young quarterbacks like Jameis Winston throwing out in the flat, 6 to the house right away. Brian Hoyer right away. So those interceptions have to get cleaned up. We had 1 fumble return for a touchdown. We still have Monday Night Football to go. But I'm used to those kind of crazy scoring plays early in the season. You put that game tape, real game tape, in front of these players in the next week, and hopefully you'll start to clean those up. The third thing, quarterbacks. All right? It's a volatile year for quarterbacks. We had all these teams that wanted to play what I'd call backup quarterbacks. Who's gone now? Brian Hoyer was benched. All right. Derek Carr was hurt. He hurt his hand. We'll see how that thing goes right now. And if they try to win with McGloin, good luck. And we saw what happened today when the Bengals came to down. And then McCown, I was worried about Josh McCown in Cleveland. Didn't think he had enough weapons. He went and tried to score John Elway style, got hit with the helicopter, concussion, and now we see Manziel. Manziel is so far from being ready. But those 3 quarterback situations are already volatile, and you're going to have to start thinking about where to find a quarterback to back up the ones you have on the field right now, especially in the case of Cleveland. Billy Q. Harrick, Ray Farmer, who's on a suspension, they're going to have their work cut out for them trying to find some quarterbacks. And finally, and I'm troubled by this, I counted 15 serious injuries. Now, we'll know in the next couple of days how serious they are. But compound 15 serious injuries with 2 games to go, maybe it turns to 17 injuries. But at any rate, at that pace, in a 17-week season, We're talking about well over 200 players going to IR. Pay attention to this. The Baltimore Ravens lost Terrell Suggs today. Deshaun Jackson has a very serious hamstring. Malden, the kid from the Jets, he had to be carried off on a stretcher. Luke Jokel, the left tackle, who's protecting the blind side from Blake Bortles, he looks like he's in serious trouble. And Luke Kuechly takes a concussion. Many, many injuries, too many injuries, and it calls to a subject I'm going to get into later this week. Are we practicing the right way in order to protect our players? They wanted all this free time, and we don't practice tackling anymore, and we don't practice the game below the waist. And so many of these injuries are leg and foot oriented. I think the league and the union better start taking a look at how we prepare the players for the season. We don't want to play our veterans too much in the preseason. Let's get them to the regular season. I get that. But they're not coming in what I call football ready. Stay tuned. We'll be tracking injuries for the next couple of weeks. For the Real Football Network, this is Pat Kerwin.